Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, dayan ha'emet. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who is a judge of truth. These are the words we say when we hear that a person has died. And we say these words at that particular moment as a way of acknowledging that there are mysteries beyond our comprehension. When we are born, when we die, these are matters beyond our understanding. But experience and tradition has taught us that there is faith and trust, and that this moment of grief, we turn to God, and like the psalmist before us, we ask the eternal questions. What are we, O God, that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? It seems that we're a little more than grass, our days like a passing shadow. But this we do know. Mark the wholehearted, and behold the upright. They shall know true peace. It is as if that final verse was written for Seymour. Mark the wholehearted, and behold the upright. Because that's who he was. It's more than a description of him. That wholeheartedness, that uprightness was part of his very core being. Elaine, you told me that for years, of course, as everyone here knows, he practiced as a dentist, but in the twilight of his career, he continued practicing and he took care of people that no one else wanted to take care of. And you told me a story how you would be in the office with him and the patient would get up out of the chair and say, I'm just going to go across to the street and get a check from the bank. And you would say to him, Seymour, they're never coming back. And he said, that's their problem. And that's how we approach the world, doing for others, caring for others. He took good care of himself as well. He was a runner and a jogger way ahead of his time. He began running really as a boy, I think before his bar mitzvah, and ran through his teens, and when he was a Marine, continued to run. Had to get the Marines to issue him shorts and a t-shirt instead of the regular uniform so he could go out and run every day. He took good care of himself. You'd go on vacation to the Cayman Islands and he would lift up the lawn furniture around the pool to exercise. People would ask you, what's he doing? Why is he moving the furniture around? No, he's not moving it. He's just doing his morning exercise. And I hope that that flag that the Marines gave you is properly folded, because he was obsessive. And he would want that flag folded just right. I suspect it is. The 90th Psalm has this verse in it. Teach us to number our days, that we may attain a heart of wisdom. And may your favor, O God, be upon us. Establish the work of our hands, that it may long endure. Today is a day of grief and sadness. It is a day to say goodbye to a loving husband and father and grandfather, to a loving brother and son. Elaine, we gather with you and your children and your family today so that we might comfort you and console you, that you might feel our loving embrace, and that our presence with you might be comforting. And we gather not only that we might comfort you, but to call upon God on your behalf. And we ask God to be with you, even in this time of sadness. Seymour loved all of you, and you loved him in a way that death does not and cannot sever. That love continues in your hearts and through the tenderness of memory. It changes now, to be sure, but it continues, and it's forever with you, to all of you who knew him. Whether you were niece or nephew, child, grandchild, in-law, that love stays with you in your heart and in your soul. And while we grieve, and we grieve deeply and fully, these first few days are called Yemei Bechi, the days of wailing and mourning and weeping. We grieve fully. We also reach deep into our souls to also offer gratitude for the gift of Seymour's life, for all those things that were so good that he brought into our lives. All the goodness he shared with us, the humor, the kindness, the way he lived by example. We are blessed with the gift of memory, and we are grateful for our memories, and of course more so for Seymour's life. In grief, we offer our thanks to God for a life that was so well and richly lived. I'd like to recite the 23rd Psalm in Seymour's memory, first in the Hebrew, then in the English. Some of you may know it, and I certainly invite you to join with me in its recitation. Adonai ro'i lo echsar binot deshe yarbitzeni al mei menuchot yinahaleni nafshi yishovev. Yancheni v'ma'agalei tzedek lema'an shemo gam ki elech begeitz al mavet lo irara ki ata imadi shiftecha umishantecha heima yanachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged sorerai. Dishanta v'shemen roshi kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yudefuni kol yemei chayai. V'shafti beveit Adonai le'orech yamim. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. To share memories and words of tribute, I'd like to call upon Sharon and Shannon.
Mom, I'm going to apologize ahead of time. It's longer than the 2-minute requirement you gave me. Thank you all for coming out on this freezing cold, snowy day. My family and I are deeply humbled by how many people have come to celebrate and honor my father's life. I want to thank my dedicated husband, Mark, and my 3 wonderful children, Adam, Jen, and Jacob, for being my solid foundation through these past 19 months. It has certainly been a difficult journey for all of us, but you stood by me, supported me, and always seemed to pick me up with a boost of happiness just when I needed you the most. I also want to thank all of my close friends and family who were always so thoughtful to check in on my father and offer words of support to me. During this long and stressful ordeal, these simple acts of sincere kindness showed me that you cared, and you should know that this support was and continues to be priceless to me. There are many ways to deal with the serious illness of a loved one, and having taken on the role of a caregiver along with my mom for my dad allowed me to spend many precious and poignant moments with him. Since my dad loved famous quotes from the time he was diagnosed with cancer and throughout his treatment, I decided to take notes and collect quotes that were meaningful to him or that described an aspect of his humanity, both as a form of catharsis for me and so that I would be able to put my thoughts into words today. So here I go. Cicero said, "The life of the dead is placed in the memory of the living." While getting up the courage to stand here and talk about my dad is a tall order, I'm going to try to rise to the occasion so that I can share with you the things that made my father so special to me. The renowned writer William Arthur Ward famously said, "A warm smile is the universal language of kindness." My father epitomized these words. He was strong, kind, gracious, tolerant, non-judgmental, conscientious, and the most self-effacing man I have ever known. He gave everything he had and asked for nothing in return, and I don't think I ever saw him impatient or annoyed. Even though he wasn't a religious Jew in the traditional sense, his life and the way he treated people embodied all that is good about Judaism. Without exception, he treated everyone he met with compassion and consideration, no matter who they were or what their station was in life. And to the amusement and sometimes chagrin of our family, he took a sincere interest in the lives of literally everyone that he met, whether it be a lifelong patient, the waiter at a favorite restaurant, or a homeless man on the street, always trying to remember their name and an anecdote or distinguishing characteristic of their lives to let them know that he considered his relationship with them to be important and meaningful. My dad also had an innate and abiding sense of duty and obligation. Some of his most cherished personal memories were of his service as a Marine. While others considered military service an onerous responsibility, my dad, an accomplished athlete in high school and college, remembered with fondness and pride the sense of accomplishment that he felt in meeting the physical and mental challenge of becoming a Marine. To many, the rigors of boot camp brought them to their knees. For my dad, it was the time of his life. Later on, one of my earliest childhood memories of him was in 1981, when in solidarity with the hostages being held in Iran, he refused to shave his beard. Thankfully, they were finally released because, as many of you remember, after 444 days, his beard was starting to make him look like more like one of the terrorists as opposed to a supporter. As a kid, I remember my dad as a consummate family man. Even though he was in a busy solo dental practice, he never brought work home and was 100% present in our lives and everything that we did. He always remembered his humble and modest beginnings in life and worked hard to provide a life for his kids that he never had. And I always tried to let him know that I appreciated him by trying to be the best daughter that I knew how to be. Some of my favorite childhood memories with my dad are long walks that we used to take and playing extensive games of Monopoly. I also distinctly remember going door to door collecting money for the Muscular Dystrophy Association and afterward taking the money to the Labor Day fish bowl that was part of the telethon. My dad would push me up front so that I would be on TV with Big Chuck and Little John. He would also take me to the community pool after work during the summer to teach me how to swim, just like he had the fond memory of his brother Irv teaching him to swim in New York City many years before. As I have grown into adulthood, I have come to treasure the memory of my dad and the role that he enjoyed the most, Zadie. That's grandfather. Aside from the normal things that grandparents do, like attend parties, sporting events, graduations, or bar and bat mitzvahs, he took being a grandparent to a whole new level. He would spend hours driving to various McDonald's, tracking down the latest movie-themed toys that Adam had to have, and he wouldn't quit until he had the entire collection. He loved to talk sports with Jacob and often took him to Brown's training camp and the Indians Tribe Fest. He loved to babysit and play Barbies with Jennifer and dress and undress the Barbies for hours. He loved to take the kids trick-or-treating and go on family vacations to Grand Cayman, too. If you knew my dad, you understood that he also took frugality to another level. saving T-shirts for decades, wearing running shoes into the ground, writing patient office notes on scraps of paper, and collecting any change he could find on the ground. But none of that ever applied to his grandkids. For them, nothing was ever a stretch. While those are some of my favorite memories, I wouldn't trade spending the last 19 months with him during his illness for anything. Winston Churchill said, "If you're going through hell, keep going." That's how my dad looked at his illness. I took him to every appointment and saw him almost every single day. We spent several hours painstakingly going through his lifetime of photos, which I scanned and labeled. We scheduled doctor's appointments around lunchtime so we could try the new restaurants around the hospital, and I schlepped him on countless errands just to get him out of the house. While no one would ever wish for a serious illness like cancer, I am so grateful for this special personal time with my dad. Illness can change people. They become mean, angry, violent, or resentful. My dad always kept his calm, dignified, gentlemanly manner. He greeted everyone at the hospital with a smile and sincerely thanked every nurse and caregiver. In the end, he never disconnected from who he truly was or had been. He left this world with no regrets and often spoke about how lucky he was to have such a great life. My dad's life now has a beginning and an end. His death is a true loss from my life, and I keep trying to remember that the ending so rarely meets our expectations. While I often find myself lost in a place of my own personal grief, I remember one of my dad's favorite quotes. He always reminded me that if you take the words "from the heart" and rearrange the letters, you can spell mother and father, which summed up my father perfectly. Dad, I will love and miss you.
As most of you know, I always listened to my mom all my life, so I kept it short for you, Mom. I can't beat Shannon's, which was beautiful. One of my dad's favorite sayings was, "No change in schedule." I believe this extended past an actual plan, but to the disciplined way he lived his life. His unwavering love for my mom, his family, and nearly everyone he came in contact with. If he told you he was going to do something, he did it to the best of his ability. He never let you down. He was a pioneer regarding women's equality, the environment, and humanity. He was my Mr. Mom. Throughout my life, I was honored meeting everyday people who had encountered my dad in one way or another and who only had the kindest things to say about him. He was truly one of a kind. I'm thankful that he taught me that it is okay to travel 30 miles to seek out the best donut or meal, even if it turned out to be a bust. I was lucky to have such a kind, caring, thoughtful, sensitive, loving, geeky person as my dad. I will miss everything about him, but will carry all he taught me about being a better person in my heart forever. I love you, Du. You are forever my Geek of the Week.
Thank you. Tradition teaches that words that come from the heart enter directly into the heart. Elaine, you were 19 years old when you and Seymour met. He drove up in a Cadillac. In a convertible. Not a Cadillac, in a convertible. And you met over a weekend, and by the end of that weekend, or maybe it was Monday the next day, he expressed his love for you and you for him. And he told you that he wanted to marry you. In fact, you even made some plans to elope. Those didn't come to be. You eventually waited a little longer than you anticipated and had what we might call a proper wedding with parents' blessings and support. And then you began 56 years of married life together. You created a family, children. You were blessed with grandchildren. There were challenges and struggles along the way, certainly. But you were what our tradition calls an ezer kenegdo. That's what a spouse is in Judaism, a constant support and helpmate. It even means that a spouse is sometimes a bit of a nudge, because sometimes a person needs encouraging they don't know they need. That's what you were for each other, that ezer kenegdo, that constant support and helper, there for each other in every way, appreciating each other's idiosyncrasies. You said he almost never raised his voice. Once you turned the heat on too early in the season, and the other you couldn't remember. I think that's remarkable. Lived in Beechwood for many years, and he was involved with the rec league. He was baseball commissioner of the rec league in Beechwood for over 10 years. And he was also involved and very proud of his involvement in the Beechwood 100. In everything he did, he showed dedication. Certainly to his family, that has been said already and goes without saying. And certainly to our country as a Marine. But he was also a loyal OSU fan, a devoted sports fan. He was a scholar of World War II. He loved learning about it. And he was dedicated to Elvis, a curiosity. And as I've said, he was a lifelong runner and ran somewhere over 45,000 miles in his lifetime. He only ran one marathon, but it was the first, what was then called the Revco Marathon. He ran it, by the way, in 3 hours, 51 minutes, and 51 seconds. I don't know if that's a good time or not, but a marathon seems like an awful long way to run in any event. I'm always reluctant to speak in superlatives during a eulogy, because I'm always afraid there'll be somebody that'll stand up and say, no, that's not true. You're overstating it. But with Seymour, it isn't overstating it, and it's a superlative well-deserved to say that he was the nicest man in the world. I know I'll get no argument from that. He enjoyed friendships that lasted an entire lifetime, from when he was young. You and Elaine with him, both of you have friends from childhood, from young adulthood, people you've been friends with 40, 50 years and longer. There was a calmness about him. There was a sweetness and a kindness. What I hope for all of you is that the illness of the last year and a half plus, that the difficulties that brought, let those memories recede into the background. Let them go into the back of your mind. And remember instead Seymour at the fullness of health, in total vibrancy. Remember him for who he was. When we die, tradition teaches, we take nothing with us, no material goods out of this world. Whatever we had, we leave it all behind. We bury our dead with open hands rather than clenched fists, as a way to say that we give up all that is material upon our death. In death, all are equal. The rabbis teach it's not our material goods that live on, that are a tribute to us. What lives on and what's truly bequeathed to our family is the Keter Shem Tov, the crown of a good name, that some people, in the way they live and the way they love, earn for themselves in their lifetime. Seymour earned his crown of a good name 1,000 times over. And his good name and his crown, that's what he leaves to all of you. And with every gracious and gentle act and deed you perform for another person, you wear his crown, you carry it into the future, you pay tribute to his life. And with every comforting word that you speak, you wear his crown, you honor his memory. Zichrono livracha. The memory of a good and a righteous man is forever a blessing to all who knew him. Amen. In the biblical book of Ecclesiastes, we read, "The eye never has its fill of seeing." Young or old, those who depart this life never see enough of their world, never complete all of their tasks before they are called home. How they yearned for yet another respite from that final summons, and how we yearned to have them close to us for another challenge in our lives, another joyful moment. Oh God, we call upon you. Be now with those whose hearts are broken, because whenever parting comes, it comes too soon. Console those who mourn. Be near to them when your light seems distant. Sustain them, O God, until their time of healing. Please rise. El malei rachamim, shochein bamromim, hamtzei menucha nechona, tachat kanfei hashchina, im kedoshim utehorim, kizoha harakia, mazhirim et nishmato simcha shahalcho laolamo began eden tehei menuchato ana bal harachamim hastirehu beseter kanafecha leolamim Vayitzror bitzror hachayim et nishmato Adonai hu nachalato v'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo v'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Simcha, to Seymour M. Ullman, for he has now entered eternity. O God of mercy, we pray, may he find refuge in your eternal presence, and may his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance, and we say, Amen. Please be seated. Following our burial service at Beit Olam Cemetery, the family will observe Shiva today until 8 p.m. at the reception room at Acacia on the Green, 2202 Acacia Park Drive. For those who may wish to honor Seymour's memory with a charitable contribution, the family suggests that you direct your generosity to the Hospice of the Western Reserve or to the St. Jude's Research Hospital.